Folks, I thought I'd do a quick episode on something that's very important right now is how to be more resilient through challenges, particularly when you have a big problem that you are facing, because this is what's happening right now with global trade war in terms of the tariffs. Previously, we were a little bit more isolated, being here in Canada, and the trade war was contained between Canada, US, and Mexico. But now this has expanded globally, and it's having a global impact very similar to the impact that COVID had on individuals. This is almost mimicking the same reaction where business leaders are saying that they themselves are having a challenge through this. So dealing with their own focus, their own mindset, their own energy levels, as well as their team members, so their executive teams, and they don't know what to do. So what are they supposed to do, and how do they keep their teams optimistic when they themselves don't have the tools to deal with their own mindset? One of the things that we have to understand is that our state, how we show up every moment, is a combination of four particular things. It's our focus, our energy, mindset, and physiology. And I want to talk about energy as I talk about quite a bit. We have to keep the energy high for our team members. If we don't keep the energy high, then their focus gets shifted and their mindset is off as well. And then eventually it impacts their physiology and they burn out. And this is where we are seeing people be at currently right now. They are on the verge of burnout or they're already burnt out. And we've done studies back in 2023 that said slightly over three quarters of people felt that they were burnt out or have been burnt out in recent years. So this is very important for us to pay attention to as business leaders because we have to keep our people on their A game for them to make effective decisions, to take effective action, to learn from these challenges, because that's what an effective team does. That's what a high-performing team does. And in order for them to do that, they have to have a certain threshold of energy. And I'm not seeing that energy there for many teams. There are teams out there that have kept their energy high, that are optimistic, but many teams have actually dropped their energy levels. It's how do I say it? Uncanny in terms of the impact that this is having on people. And I would say in many ways, it's having a greater impact than COVID, because COVID was a phenomenon that people could explain. Okay, it's a virus, it's spreading, it's a health issue, people are dying. Okay, we get it. There's a lot of uncertainty here where people just don't know why this is happening, what the end game is. The end game for COVID was to get people healthy, right? That was a fundamental end game. Everybody was trying to do whatever they could to make sure that they stayed healthy and that the people around them stayed healthy. Well, we don't know what the end game here is when it comes to these tariffs. And this is a big challenge for individuals. What happens when people get consumed with problems? So this is the workshop side of this. This is the part where you can have some takeaways. What happens when there is a problem is it consumes a lot of mental energy. So the first thing that we need to do is write down the repeating thoughts that are going through our mind. So we have to write them down on paper. So I highly encourage you to do this with your team members as an executive team. What are the problems that we are facing today? What are the thoughts that we are having as a result of this? And what are even some of the crazy thoughts that we're having? Because these problems do get us to think in ways that we have never thought from a negative perspective. So there might be a lot of people out there thinking, oh, my life is over as a result of this, or I'm going to lose my job, or I'm going to lose my house. And what's going to happen as a result of that? Society is going to tank. We're going to be into this global war and society is just going to go nowhere. The world is done. And you might be thinking, oh, that's a little bit too far reached. It's actually not, because there's a lot of people thinking about this. There's a lot of people that extrapolate the current facts and situation. And what ends up happening is that extrapolation actually consumes more energy. So we have to write things down. That's the first thing that I would do as an individual. And I would do that as a team exercise as well, so that people's thoughts are written down and you can actually discuss them in a group, in a community, because that helps significantly when it comes to keeping people feeling like they're supported. So write things down. Now, the other thing is I actually have a template that I use with people and teams that we shift the problem to an opportunity. And here's the challenge. When people are dealing with problems, it's a negative suck on their energy. Okay, so think about it from this perspective. A problem, perceiving a problem as a problem is a negative drain on energy. But if you can shift that problem to an opportunity, which there are few stages in that process, and if you're interested, you can always reach out to me directly and I can share that template with you. But if you take that problem and you shift it to an opportunity, it's no longer negative energy. It is the same situation that you are dealing with, but from a different energy perspective. That is the key here when it keeps to keeping people at a high energy level. You got to stop thinking about it as a negative problem and turn it into, I'm going to say, more of a positive opportunity. And you might be saying, hey, Pradeep, that's almost impossible. Like, we might have to lay off half our workforce. We might have to shut our business down. Well, what are your other options? That's my question to you, is if you don't think as an opportunity, what's your other option? Because if you continue to think it as a problem and drain people's energy, you're never going to come up with creative solutions to be able to get yourself out. This is shown through neuroscience. We do know this. I've done a lot of studies in this area, that in order to be creative, you have to have a certain amount of energy in your system, and you also have to be in an optimistic mindset. You cannot be creative in a pessimistic mindset, particularly when it comes to divergent thinking, which is thinking that expands and creates ideas. So that doesn't work in that state. So you got to be in that optimistic state. There's 3 things I'm going to give you here. First, number 1, write things down. Talk about them with your group, talk about with your executive team, because that's going to stop people, or I shouldn't say stop. That's going to slow people down and enable people not to constantly replay those thoughts in their head, because the moment we write them down, it's on paper. We don't have to keep them in our heads all the time. There's a huge relief in that. So that's the first step. Second is you got to shift people from negative energy thinking and thinking as a problem to an opportunity, which is more optimistic, which has more positive energy associated to that. You're dealing with the exact same thing, but you're just shifting the perspective of that issue. And the third thing is keeping the collective energy high. You got to keep that collective energy high. So that means, yes, if your team is down and out, you got to bring more energy in. That could be by doing certain exercises. What I mean by that is team building, or you can go out and just, do a getaway, and you're going to be like, hey, Pradeep, this is just not the time to do a getaway. Well, you got to reset people's energy. If people's energy is low, it will continue down a spiral. It's like a momentum. You got to reset your team somehow. So whether that's bringing on positive energy from other people, bringing on other people into that executive team or those meetings, whether it's other people within your organization or outside your organization, create some optimism there, create some positive energy there. And sometimes you just have to do something fun. And that seems too much for some people, where they're like, hey, look, we're in a crisis here. How do we do something fun? How do we justify spending money on doing something fun? You gotta remember that mindset leads to better decisions and better actions. This is why the best sports teams bring on performance psychologists onto their team, because they have to shift their team members' mindsets. And as soon as they can do that, they get their team performing at an optimal level. This is very, very important for you to pay attention to as a business leader. Okay. Remember that your A team is your golden team. How much is your executive team worth to you? If they are the ones that are making decisions to get you out of this challenge, how much is it worth it to you to make sure that they stay on top of their A game? Very, very critical. Now, the other part too, as a leader, it is your responsibility to make sure you create some kind of positive energy within that team. They are looking to you, if you're the CEO or if you're the board chair, they're looking to you in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps you're the divisional leader, department manager, whatever it is, director, whatever your position is. And if you have a team, they are looking to you. So my suggestion to you is do whatever you need to do to keep your energy high, because that's going to help the other people on your team. It's going to have a trickle effect. I'm telling you, without a shadow of a doubt, we're seeing this. And I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying this. The team with a higher level of energy is the team that's going to win. I hate to say it. Look at what Trump just did. It's not a great example as a leader. He caused all these issues, yet he went out and golfed the next day. He may be facing some backlash and challenges, but for him to get out and golf, that says a lot. Yes, he's got some balls to do that. Yes, I don't agree with it from a leadership perspective, but he's not losing energy like the other people around him. That's his strategy, is to get other people to lose their energy, because then they don't take effective actions and make effective decisions and then take effective action. So remember this, keep your team's energy high. And there's 3 things to do. Write the thoughts down on paper, right? Shift the problem to an opportunity. And third, make sure that you're keeping the collective energy of your team high, and you need to do whatever it takes to do that, because that, at the end of the day, is going to help you get through this challenge.